Hi, today I'm going to do a quick run through of the clinic app for midwifery that I've been building on Salesforce. So I'm logged into the Salesforce system right now. I've got my calendar open for the week. You can see it looks like a pretty light week for me. Except tomorrow at 1:30, I've got an appointment. It's called First Check-in. So I'll open that up. And this appointment is linked to to a contact named Marge Simpson. And since this is Marge's first check-in, there's not really a whole lot of information in her file. We've got her contact information, her address, and on the right-hand side here, we can see there's a next step for Marge, and that is the appointment called First Check-in. So when Marge has her first appointment, we'll probably collect some background medical information. So I might just go ahead now and start adding them. So I've shown that she has a sulfa allergy. Right, that she's taking Tylenol for conditions. For conditions, I'll put in anxiety, and I will also put in that she has a bad back. And a lot of these fields are just kind of placeholders that still need to be kind of worked through and considered. But this is a bit of information about these allergies, these meds, and these conditions. So I've created those records. The next thing to do is actually create, because these things, the allergies, the meds, and the conditions, these aren't necessarily specific to any one pregnancy. So if Marge had subsequent pregnancies and came back to the same clinic, we would want that information to be preserved and carried over to the next pregnancy. For now, I'll just go ahead and create a new pregnancy. Just say that she got referred from a primary care provider. Again, these fields are kind of placeholders. But inside the pregnancy record, the bulk of what I've been working on is these different tabs across the top: antenatal 1, antenatal 2, antenatal 3, and postnatal. So if we go over to antenatal 1, notice right away at the top we've got allergies and medications. I think there's a bunch of information that would show above them and a bunch of information on the side. Most of the information above and on the side is actually like really straightforward to do because it's particular to this pregnancy and to this person. But since allergies and meds, we want them to kind of carry over, it was a bit more work, so I just started with the hard parts. So we've got her allergies and meds populated because we entered them, and of course we only have to enter them once. If I jump in, because the allergies and the meds, yes, they're they're side by side towards the top of the antenatal 1, and then I think they go one on top of the other in the antenatal 3. So again, allergies, meds, and issues or conditions, you enter them once and you don't have to enter them again. Likewise on the postnatal, we've got medications. So that's the first kind of thing that I've been building out for the antenatal form in Salesforce, is some of those repetitive pieces, making sure we can enter them once. The second thing I've been working on is kind of these they're like checklists of different topics that you might discuss. So all of these topics, you can go through and just check off that you discussed something. So in mental health, I'll check off that we discussed anxiety. and I can also link it to a particular issue. So again, I don't want just to record that there's anxiety and have that stuck inside this form. We want that to kind of be accessible elsewhere. So I'll check off not only that we discussed anxiety, but that specific topic is related to this condition, Marge Simpson's anxiety. So I'll just go down and save that. And again, you would, there's tons of these different checklists. So, in Antenatal 2, the physical and the genetic testing. What's cool though is if I go through and kind of, again, because Marge has anxiety, I'll just mention that in her transition to parenthood on postnatal. So I just put a note in here, discussed anxiety around being a new mom. And again, I could link this discussion topic back to her anxiety. Save this form. So if we jump over to Marge, let's say she comes back, she has a normal healthy pregnancy, and mom and baby are fine, and she comes back later. If we create a new antenatal form, it will of course carry over all this stuff because they're linked. We can also, if we drill into her anxiety specifically, we can see there's a handful of discussion topics linked to it. So with those checklists that are so prevalent, again, you check them off on the form, but you can link them to other topics, and this is much more powerful than a fillable PDF. So we can do things like run reports or trigger alerts based on the contents of what goes into the form. But going back for Marge, if she came back for another pregnancy, her allergies, again, like the allergies and the meds would carry through. The discussion topics don't always carry through. So we've got anxiety, past and present, as a discussion topic on Antenatal 1. But just because it's there and just because you press yes doesn't mean that it gets, you got to actually manually link it to a condition if you want it to be linked. So I've tried to separate these out into conditions, as well as keeping the checklist kind of separate, because again, just because someone has a particular condition, it doesn't mean that it should pre-fill and say that you discussed it. You should have the option to link it to it. And by the way, every time we link to Marge Simpson anxiety, we're linking to the same record. So for a particular condition, or we could include different medications. If we go back to Marge, for anxiety, we're always linking to the same record, and it just keeps adding.